this episode of 305 Vox Populi here in the town of Miami Lakes. I'm Mayor Manny Cid. We got a phenomenal guest today. We got Phil Wyllie with the Graham Companies. How you doing, Phil?
Good. Thank you very much for having me. We're excited to talk.
Phil, I appreciate you coming on. So one thing I want Miami Lakers to understand, as we've seen this rejuvenation of our retail centers, right? While folks look at retail, the reality is that the economy is pushed by industrial, office, retail is kind of like that icing on the cake. But the person who spearheaded retail the last, how many years has it been now that you've been?
Been about 10 years.
The last decade in Miami Lakes is you. And I remember going up to Orlando, going to the conferences where all the uses, retailers throughout the restaurants, you name it, throughout the nation, right? And you were always pushing Miami Lakes, talking Miami Lakes. But tell us your story of why, how did that all start? Where did you say, you know what, I love this community and I want to make sure that the retail centers, that retail is doing well, is lively, and it is to where it's at today?
So when I started at the company about 10 years ago, in talking to people around the town, I'd be like, so what would you like to see in Miami Lakes? And it was pretty consistent. Better restaurants, better retail. No one was worried about the office. No one was worried about the industrial. But that's what people see every day. That's where people have fun. That's where people go out to eat. So, it's a really important piece to feeding the whole machine. If you have good retail, you're going to attract better office tenants, and same thing with apartment tenants, and same thing with home values. It all ties together. So we kind of made it a priority to really push that and do everything we could to bring in better operators and fresh concepts and all that. And it's a long process. It's almost like pushing a boulder uphill, but I feel like we're finally getting to the tipping point, and we're starting to get some momentum and seeing some real activity from tenants we would have never seen 5 years ago.
No, that's phenomenal. And you being born in Miami Lakes, right?
Absolutely.
Being born in this town, growing up here, understanding it from a youth perspective, how does it feel for you to going through that entire process, hanging out on Main Street, playing in the parks, and now you're the head of ensuring that every single shopping center in our community, maybe there's two that aren't the Graham Companies, right? But everybody else, 80% of the centers in our community are managed by you, and you get to pick those. How does that feel from your perspective, growing up here, being born here, and now to what you're doing today?
It's obviously very cool and exciting. But at times it's also very stressful. You're making decisions that everybody has an opinion on, and everyone voices that opinion, and it can be frustrating at times. But, about 6 months ago, Danny Martinez, my cousin, and also, owner of the company and grew up in Miami Lakes and all that, he joined the company after working with at Facebook out in California, and has brought some great insight, and we're working together on trying to bring in cool new concepts, and he's really spearheading the retail moving forward. We're working on everything together, but he's going to be pushing all the vacancies that we have over the next few years, and we're seeing a lot of great activity, and it's exciting to see the transformation. There were multiple components to trying to bring in these tenants. There's the property, right? Cypress Village is a perfect example. There's issues where we have to invest money in order to attract certain types of tenants. And I think Cypress Village was a good test and worked out phenomenally. That is our best shopping center right now. It's hopping. So we're really trying to look at all of our properties, the ones that are tired, and kind of come up with a plan on how we can improve those centers to attract the type of tenants that we want to see come to Miami Lakes.
No, you got that right. And before we get into some of these centers, I want to stay on the topic of you and your bio. Before you started working for the Graham Companies, kind of like, and I think it's tradition, right, where you're born into the family, but you got to go to school, right? You got to go to school, and you got to work somewhere else.
Correct.
So talk to us about those two and why that is important to your parents, to the family, and to the entire culture that exists in the Graham Companies.
Well, I think, one, it's a great policy, because when you go elsewhere, you see what people are doing and how they're doing things differently. They may be for better or worse, but at least you're getting exposure. And I actually got the opportunity to work for a large retail company. It wasn't a REIT, but it's a private equity type deal. And through that, I got a lot of experience working with leasing people that had been doing it for years and years and got great connections in the industry. Really kind of cut my teeth on the retail side. And then that was kind of engineered by my mom, I think, because I know she kind of felt that that was our one weak point. You know, Steve Style, who was previously my boss, was great. You know, his background was office. He really knew the office side and the industrial side. He learned with Carlos. But the retail, you know, we're not a huge retail landlord. It's really they're more amenity type centers. So it was never really a focus. And I think my mom wanted to make it a focus. So when she brought me, when I went to grad school after working at RAM for about 2 years, got a master's from the University of Florida in real estate, and then came back to work for the company. And for the first 5 years, I exclusively worked on the retail. So really focused on it, you know, looking at all the opportunities. And, you know, like I said, it's been a long uphill battle, but we're bringing in much better operators and seeing a lot more activity.
No, that's phenomenal. And that thought process of changing from just seeing it as it's an amenity, some local service use, to where it's at today. No, forget it. This is a front and center, a driver for our community in terms of people coming in. They want to live here. They want to be here. So what we're going to do now, if it's okay with you,
absolutely,
we're going to go over every single shopping center, starting with the one east, furthest east in our community, and then we'll work our way towards the two that are up and coming. But I know that's what really gets our residents excited. So going to the east side of town, Lake Catherine, that is where NQC's at. That is, I think there's a corner store there. There's a car wash. I know that the areas north are condos, but you all own that space there. But I do know that there's a vacant restaurant spot. What's the future at that center?
So the reason that restaurant spot has been vacant for a while is we were looking at a renovation of that shopping center. And when it came down to it, it wasn't worth renovating. It was old. It was everything had issues. So we were going to spend as much money and have an old building. So what we decided to do is move forward with a redevelopment there. We'll do another retail strip type opportunity. We don't even have renderings or site plans or anything like that, but we are moving in that direction. And over the next year or so, you'll start to see things progress out there. And I think when we upgrade that building, we'll be able to attract a higher level of clientele and tenants.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So I think
Absolutely.
think folks will get excited when they hear that, because that type of redevelopment really moves forward our community. Moving on to Eagle Nest Center, that's Payway, right? The Payway is the end cap there.
Correct.
I think you got a U.S. Century Bank on the other end cap, and you got some other uses.
Pediatric Associates in between.
What's the future there?
So, I mean, that's a newer building. We're going to continue to lease it as is. We have one vacancy that we are working on. We have a couple of prospects that are looking at it. We had 2 leases out, actually. Neither of them really moved forward, but it's a great property. The exposure to 67th Avenue is phenomenal. So we're confident we'll get a good tenant in there, but we're really trying to find the right tenant, not the first tenant, you know, and you know, I learned over the past 10 years, it's better to be patient and do the right deal that's good for the community, but also us as a landlord. You know, I mean, turnover is not good and all that. So we're really trying to focus on that and find a good operator.
Look, and that the entire strip is happening now, right? You got Chella's. Kudos to you, because I know that was a very unique deal, and now it's worked long term.
It was, absolutely. It's kind of a trial run that we're not replicating the model, but we're opening our minds to structuring deals a little differently today.
No, that's exciting. Chella's, La Trega, Ale House, but there's a piece in between there, in between Eagle Nest and Chella's. Anything you guys got planned there?
Not today. You know, that really is designed as a ground lease pad site. So what a ground lease means is someone comes in, like all those buildings there, we did not build those buildings. A tenant builds them themselves, and they pay us a ground rent. So, you know, that's really what we've been kind of hoping for. Long term, if that doesn't start moving forward, once we figure out, there's all these other pieces that we're working on right now, and it's not worth going and building a new building if we're trying to fill vacancies in other buildings. So I think as we kind of finalize a lot of the things that are going on in that area, I think we'll kind of reevaluate it, maybe build a small little building and a couple restaurants or something like that.
Sounds good. Crescent Point. That's where the Bolé, Sergio's, Jersey Mike's, and now the PF Chang to go. What's anything available there? Future
There's
there?
not. We had one last space that was between Sergio's and AT&T, and we leased that to it's like a med spa type deal. They do a lot of kind of cosmetic treatments and eyebrows and all that kind of stuff. So they seem like a good operator, and they should be building out any day now and start to see progress there.
Got it. And then a little further, right next to that one, you have a chicken kitchen. And
Yep.
anything happening in that area, fully leased?
It's 100%.
Got it.
Chicken Kitchen has some turn left on their lease, and we'll see how that goes. But right now, it's 100%.
Good. Yeah, I know that was one of the feedbacks I get from folks all the time, and maybe you could chime in on it, is that people are like, oh, I want more sit-down restaurants. I want this. Listen, there's certain financials that restaurants have to meet and fit in that mold, and I think COVID kind of opened up, operators' eyes to how the world has changed. So talk to us about that point before we get to some of the other centers as to why some pick quick service and takeout instead of more of a traditional sit-down.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a different business model. Some people want to do fast casual, some like the sit-down environment. I will tell you, I think the pandemic changed things a little bit and shifted people to more the experience-driven sit-down operation. A perfect example of that is Corner 67 on Main Street. They were it was a salsa fiesta. They were doing decent sales, but the takeouts, Uber Eats, was killing their margins. So, when Uber Eats is taking 30%, there's no margin there. You're not making any money. It doesn't matter what your sales are. It was one thing when, you had your fixed costs covered and you were serving food in the restaurant, all that, and that was just kind of icing on the cake. But when it became the primary source of income for Salsa Fiesta, they looked at it and said, we need to make a change. And that's where they decided to kind of emulate a concept similar to what they did in Aventura called Reunion Kitchen. And it has been phenomenally successful. I mean, it really has just killed it. So, we're looking to attract more of those type of good operators. It's not always easy. I mean, fast casual is a lot easier to figure out, and, a lot of franchisors, franchisee type operators. But, there's a place for every type of concept in Miami Lakes. I always say, I don't want all chains, but I don't want all locals either. So we're really trying to find a good mix, and we're hoping to attract some better sit-down restaurants, specifically on Main Street, because we see Main Street as a hub where people will come, gather, hang out, go to the movies, all that. And that really is conducive in my mind to more sit-down environment than a fast casual.
Got it. Lake Patricia, Vicky Bakery, you got Domenico's, you got some cool stuff. You have a bank pad there. I mean, anything happening there, it's fully leased as well.
It's 100% leased. Got it. Nothing really playing there anytime soon. So
okay. Windmill Gate, you got Casavana, Ken and Mike's. Yep. Anything else? By the way, that's one of the few inline Hagen. I think the last inline Haagen-Dazs.
And probably one of the more successful ones.
Exactly.
It kills it.
The rest of the Haagen-Dazs are in malls and stuff like that. That's, I think, the last one that's left in line because you can't find it anywhere else. But that center also fully leased?
That center has one vacancy. Danny has a lease out on it right now. I don't want to jinx it. I'm very superstitious when it comes to talking about deals, but it would be a cool concept. It would be,
food?
Not food, more alcohol oriented. So.
At Windmill Gate Shop, you heard it here first. Windmill Gate Shopping Center, cool. He doesn't want to jinx it. I respect that.
I don't jinx my deals. I've learned from experience. If I talk about them too much, they die. So.
No worries. So there is a possible tenant that has to do with beer, wine, alcohol. Okay. At majority liquor sales or food?
No, it would just be beer and wine.
Okay. Cool. We'll leave it at that. So we won't jinx it.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll see it building out in the next 6 months.
All right. In the next 6 months, something cool happening at Windmill Gate Shopping Center. Main Street. I know not only on this side, right, it's fully leased out, but I think you have one. Do you have one space at the end, right here in 6601
We have a few spaces on the Circle, but nothing on 67th Avenue.
Got it.
So
got it. But I'm right next to City Hall. The big building right in front of City Hall, where you have the Spot Barber. That's
100% leased.
Okay.
Yeah. That was thanks to Manny's vision and the vision of the council. I mean, I will tell you, in Town Center, the impression that building has given to potential tenants has a significant impact. I remember leasing Crescent Point, and before you'd look back there, it's a cow pasture. There's nothing there. There's no people there. There's no customers there. But as soon as that thing started going up, and I would stand in the breezeway at Crescent Point, and that was one of my selling points. All these people can walk from their apartment to come to these restaurants, and I think it really made a big difference. And I think the density is what makes a Main Street concept work. I mean, if you look anywhere in the country, the ones that don't have density around them end up struggling and failing. The ones that are in denser markets, they work because people are there. They walk downstairs, they go to restaurants, shops, and all that. And that's really how these mixed-use projects are designed. I mean, it's really important to the overall success of them.
Listen, you even had you haven't seen Miami Dolphins in Miami Lakes since the 1970s, right? I think the last Dolphin who still lives here, who's a great human being, is Tony Nathan. Yeah. But current Dolphins. Last year, they were living right here. Jalen Waddle, one of the best receivers. He was living right in this big building. Myles Gaskin, a bunch of the guys, which is phenomenal.
And I think that's a good point to bring up. What that building has done is it attracts an entirely different clientele. I mean, you got all of our other properties, specifically apartments, more garden style, great properties, but young, successful, cool people. They're looking at Brickell, they're looking at all these other markets, and we offered a product. We're not Brickell. We're never going to be Brickell. We're not going to be downtown, but we can offer a product that's comparable and a lot of the same amenities within walking distance. And I think that's why it's been hugely successful.
Listen, I could tell you, even the people that were against Town Center, I mean, you see them hanging out on Main Street all the time.
Tell me about it. Don't get me started. So.
Main Street itself, right? You have 107 Taste, which is like the top ramen noodle concept in South Florida. Everybody loves
Very
it.
Successful.
Corner 67, Cien Montaditos, it does really well.
Yeah, surprisingly. One of the few in South Florida,
exactly.
But it does extremely well.
It's jam-packed all the time. You got the movie theater, which had a huge renovation everybody loves now. You got a new fitness spot opening up. You have a bunch of but the Burger Inn spot, I know.
Yeah, so I'll kind of run through what we have going on Main Street. So we recently signed a lease with Sweat 440, which is a specialty fitness concept, very cool vibe. If you Google all their other locations, they're in Chelsea, New York, and Brickell, and all these kind of urban environments. And they decided they wanted to take a shot at Miami Lakes. It was a local resident that's a successful business owner. And from what they've told me, they have double the enrollments that they would have expected to have, and they haven't even opened. So those are the things I like to hear. And recently we also signed with Wolfgang Bakery, which is a kind of high-end dog grooming pet store. Sharky's Cuts for Kids, which is a somewhere we'll take our young kids when it's time for their first haircut. It's a kind of a specialty kids barbershop. It's got like fire truck seats and all that kind of stuff. And then we're working on a lot of cool deals or cool stuff for both the Anna Capri, or really two deals, but Anna Capri, we're working on a very cool deal, and then one across at Bergram. We're hopefully going to sign that pretty quickly.
All right, without jinxing it.
So I'll give you general ideas.
Got to give us, because everybody's going to be watching, is going to ask. So Anna Capri, what are we looking at?
So Anna Capri, we're looking at kind of an international flavors concept. I think we'll be geared more towards the Latin side of the international scene, but it'll definitely have kind of combination of different types of plates.
Cool.
In the Burger M space, it's going to be like a Peruvian Japanese fusion, and they have some very cool ideas, and they're a strong operator, so we're looking forward to that.
The chicken spot right on the end cap, Francisca,
wildly successful.
Place is awesome.
They do very, very well.
It's amazing.
Originally that was an Amaze.
Yep,
fast casual restaurant. the owners decided this was a better market for Francisca's. So they did that, and it's just been a total home run. So it's been very, very exciting.
2 new restaurants coming in. One with the international flavors concept. The other one, Peruvian, Japanese fusion, but something even more exciting. I think there might be a facelift coming up soon to Main Street.
So we have plans to completely renovate Main Street. We really feel that it needs to be brought back up to, what it was when we all used to hang out there. And it's not going to be the Gap, the structure, all that. It's going to be come hang out, have good food, hang out with your family and friends, go to the movies, spend time walking around. And that's really the environment we want to create, is more of a, place for people to gather. It's our town center, and this is where people should come and hang out and spend time with their friends and family, and that's the goal. So we got some exciting things. Nothing's finalized. We're very early on in the process. Main Street is a very complicated project. I mean, if you think about all the access points, all the different components of it, it's a big undertaking, but we're making progress. We have some really cool ideas that we're excited about.
What do you think? A soft time, nothing hard, just a soft time frame.
That's a moving target.
Got it.
We're really trying to work around the holidays. So we'd rather not be in the middle of a renovation and when we're in the holidays. So we may actually push it back a little bit to try and accommodate the festival lights and all that stuff. It's a big time for the retail tenants. So we don't want to.
Got it. I get it. Cypress Village. So here's one that what you're gonna do on Main Street. You already did once. You did it at Cypress Village, and I remember you have long-term tenants. Gabriel, the Pamper Chef. You had till recently, obviously, Beverly Hills Cafe. A bunch of other folks there. The bakery. Great tenants. But the moment that you changed Cypress Village, Limon Sign, and I remember when Limon Sign was Rufino, folks were like, we don't know if it's gonna work. He's crushing it out there. So much so that I know he's tying 2. He has 1 open now. He's opening up another one. So, but talk to us about Cypress Village and why those types of facelifts help those centers so much. And I know we're going to go a little bit longer today because I think this is pretty cool. We still have about 3 or 4 more centers we're going to talk about. Cool. And then we'll get there.
I mean, Cypress Village, I think we all can agree, was very tired. I mean, there was no question about that. So when we approached it, we said we want to give it a facelift, bring it back to kind of what, modern times. Well, like anything, when you start opening things up, and it's like the scope of the project more than doubled because all the sewage and, sewer lines, we had to do sewer main loops and all kinds of stuff. And in that process, we determined we were originally just going to renovate the Blockbuster building. And we said, this is similar to Lake Catherine. It's not a building that's worth renovating. It's too old. So we scraped it, built that brand new building there, which attracted the right type of tenants, which has been very, very successful.
BurgerFi,
if they ever get their construction
all right.
together, but they are about to start construction.
They put a ticker on their website that said they open like in 60 days or something.
Well, if they can pull that off, I'm going to hire their contractor.
All right.
But no, it's been wildly successful. I think it was great for the community in the surrounding area. And I think it's a good model as to what we want to try and do, Lake Catherine and Main Street and other areas.
So Beverly Hills, 43 years. Everybody loved Beverly. I already heard what the concept is. I saw it. Mm-hmm. Somebody posted online. If you can talk to us about who's taking over, where they're located at right now, and why you believe it's such a great concept to improve the spot and to take it to new heights.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I've never had the response that we had with Beverly Hills going out. I got a call on Monday saying, hey, we're closing our doors. Basically, that was the conversation. So I was like, okay. And then the next 4 or 5 calls were people that were dying to take the space. So we met with a lot of different operators, some, more in line with what we were looking for, and some more traditional, kind of across the board. Some who were truly interested, some who weren't. So what we did was we kind of went through all the options. We decided, okay, based on the options, that we felt a concept called La Diosa, which is it's on Cayocho down in south in Miami. They have a small little location there, but it is absolutely crushing it. And if you go on Yelp, I don't think I've ever seen better reviews.
I saw it was 5 stars.
So they're not a massive chain. Or
I see everybody yelping it right now.
Yeah. But it's an operator that we felt we wanted to work with, and we felt confident that would work hard to make it cool and make it a place that people want to go and hang out, and we feel good about it.
Listen, it makes sense why everybody wanted it, because they saw what happened when Lorenzo and his wife picked up the Sushi Sake a spot, that end cap. I mean, the numbers they're doing there are just very, unbelievable. Very so, looking forward to that. What do you think the time frame is for this new tenant taking over Beverly Hills Cafe?
I would say somewhere between 4 and 6 months.
Got it.
Hopefully we can get open quickly, but there's always challenges. I mean, there's always a hiccup somewhere along the line that will delay things. So.
Got it. Now we're going to the west side of town. There's only one on the west side of town that's currently there. It's Park Center Shops. Yep. Known as the Chipotle
Starbucks Center. That's what I always tell people.
That is La Traila is, amazing what they've done out there. Latin America is a staple in our community. Yep. I mean, there's a bunch of mom and pop shops there that do awesome, but I know there's something really special that is going to open very soon that a lot of folks don't know about yet in our community, but I think they're all going to be trying to get a table there.
I hope so. I think it's a great concept. So Rufino, you mentioned earlier, the owner of Dr. Limon and Cruzero's, been very successful in the community and has generated a following. People know Rufino. That's one of the great things about Miami Lakes is it's truly a small town. So he approached me. I think it was during the pandemic. I can't remember the timeline, but basically with an idea that he wanted to do, a Latin type concept that had, not Latin American type food, but kind of international fusion type stuff, and then have a live music component and a good bar scene, which is really missing from the west side of town. So when we heard that, I was sold. I said I think that'll be a killer spot, and I think if he operates them the way he operates Dr. Limon and Cruzero's, I think it'll be a big success. The one other vacancy there, we just signed a lease with a pediatric dentist. So it's a local Miami Lakes. He grew up in Miami Lakes. His parents now moved, but was very passionate about coming back to Miami Lakes, and he didn't want anything but Miami Lakes. So we're happy that we got that over the finish line, and we think he'll be a great operator.
No, and shout out to Zavas at Oregano. I'm not sure what numbers they do that, but that food is awesome.
He does a great job.
He's a great operator. So 2 projects that are going to be coming online, one earlier than the other one, but they both have retail, right? One is going to be a mixed-use site, right, on the west side of town, on Commerce. I think you guys already started, and I know you weren't too happy with me for a while because I voted no on it, but I know you guys already took out the cows, removed the fencing, are starting to do some groundwork. What's your time frame there? And what do you foresee as the retail component there?
So as far as time frames, again, it's a moving target. We should have been putting, concrete up and foundation and all that at this point. But, I would say we're probably looking at about 2 years before we're really starting to see deals and do, see tenants move in. And I think that project, we already have interest in it, by the way. It's there's not a lot of availability of retail in Miami Lakes. And, when there's a lack of availability, the great thing is we can put together a list, and which we do. And then when we have product, we call people. So we have a list of people that have expressed interest in it. And about a year, we'll probably start working on deals. I expect it to be more service-oriented, kind of retail, maybe with a mix of, a coffee shop or something like that. But it'll be more service-oriented, I would believe.
So here's the big one. Here's the one that everybody's excited about because I think we'll have a really nice sit-down restaurant at.
That's what we expect.
The Nine.
We're very excited about this project. This is the most exciting project that we've done since I've been here. I think it's going to really transform the entrance to Miami Lakes in a way that it deserves to be transformed. We're going to have retail on the ground floor facing 154th Street. Unlike South Point, I think it'll be more traditional retail. We have a nice corner restaurant or corner space that we're expecting a restaurant. It's going to have 2-story glass and really a cool feel. And then we'll have, a balance of kind of more traditional retail spaces, but we do expect hopefully a couple other restaurants as well. And then, the mix of kind of typical retail.
But that restaurant, you foresee a sit-down spot.
That's what we foresee or expect. I mean, you know, you never know. I mean, if a great other option came along, you know, we look at all of our options and we make decisions kind of as we go. But, you know, that's our goal at least. And that's what we would expect.
Yeah, because I know a lot of folks reminisce all the time about the steakhouse, right? They're like, man, that steakhouse back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, everybody who was anybody in South Florida was there. Right. So I think this reviving it is going to be.
And I will tell you, we already have interest in that property. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I mean, I think the renderings and the location and it's a beautiful project. I mean, there's nothing not to like about it, in my opinion. So.
Good. Before we get to the two questions from the students, one last one from my end. If you could walk folks through the process as to how you set your retail rates, because I think a lot of people don't understand what a retail lease is, why they're at a certain rate, what makes sense, what doesn't, how do landlords, you know, take care of maintenance, take care of insurance, taxes. So walk us through that process as to why the market is where it's at today in regards to your properties and in regards to Miami Lakes retail in general.
Yeah. So retail is all about occupancy costs. And when you look at occupancy costs, you know, we generally say your occupancy cost should be about 8 to 10% of your gross sales, depending on the business. Different businesses have higher margins and can pay more and all that. But that's a general rule of thumb that we use internally. So, you know, we know what our tenants do in sales, and we know if they're not doing that in sales, other tenants, similar type tenants are. So maybe that's not the right concept for Miami Lakes. And we basically back into our rents. And I would tell you our occupancy costs is well below, and most of our deals well below 8, you know, but it is what it is. I mean, you know, costs are increasing, as we all know, drastically. Stuff's not cheap to build. People think the stuff, you know, all these buildings are free to us. They're not. We have mortgages on them. We have to pay our bills and all that stuff. And then we gotta, you know, we have to do what's right for our shareholders. We have to, you know, everyone's in the business of, you know, we want to bring in the best concepts, but we're also running a business, and we know what our market can drive in sales, which should translate into a certain rent. And then we also look at the surrounding areas. I mean, you go to Doral, you go to Pembroke Pines, you go to any of those other markets, it's more expensive. So, you know, I think there's a bit of, you know, people have sticker shock if they aren't in the business or do multiple deals, but the operators that, you know, are kind of more mainstream and have experience elsewhere, they come in and they say, this is a great deal. I mean, including the one we're doing on Main Street. You know, they have a location in Aventura, and they're probably paying significantly. I know they're paying significantly more than our rents, I would assume. So.
Yeah, listen, and if you, message to our residents, if you want great uses in our community, you got to support them, right? So
absolutely.
The reality is that's the other one. You have to support local. So to the students, what questions do you have for Phil? That's something we do a little different.
Yeah,
they get to ask two questions. You get to ask me some questions, and then we go from there.
So what are the biggest challenges you have faced in the industry when it comes to developing new projects?
Well, I mean, I think there's the development of the project and then the leasing of the project. Development, you know, the biggest challenges are approvals, getting through Durham, fire. There's a lot of challenges working in Dade County. It is what it is. Everyone deals with it. So from a development perspective, overcoming those challenges and making the numbers work. I mean, numbers work, and then from a time perspective, trying to minimize the amount of time it takes to get the project into production. From a leasing perspective, it's more of educating people on Miami Lakes. So many people that I deal with come to Miami Lakes like, wow, I've never been here. This place is a gem. And I said, I agree. You know, let's spread the word. And what's happened is, as we brought in better operators and better tenants like Bole, there's certain tenants that are accustomed to being in a Bole type market. And same thing with, you know, a lot of the other type of operators. So as we're bringing in better operators, other better tenants are saying, hey, well, Bole's there, Wolfgang's there, you know, all these tenants are there. Let's go look at Miami Lakes. So, you know, I think we're getting some progress there, but it's always a challenge from a development perspective. First getting the approvals, then getting it built and built in a way that we can lease it and make financial sense of it.
Are you satisfied with the way your centers are now? Because I saw that you were talking about how you're reaching like the tipping point and then you're finally like going downhill and all that. And if not, what's the ultimate goal you would like to see with your centers?
You know, I think you kind of have to look at each center separately. You know, I mean, there's centers that we're thrilled with. Cypress Village is, we're very proud of that. And then you look at Main Street, which we're proud of, and we're always working on and moving in the right direction. But we realize there needs to be something done to bring it back to where it needs to be. And same thing with Lake Catherine. So, I think we don't have a lot of vacancy in Miami Lakes, and the vacancies we do have, we are being very picky on our on the tenants that we're bringing in. So, I'm happy with all of our retail where we are today, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to try and improve and constantly. We've owned these properties for the land for 80 years and the properties for, depending on which building, however long. And we're not people that buy something, develop it, flip it, and sell it. So we really look at things where if we're going to build something, we're going to build it right, because we're going to own it long term, and we're going to have to maintain it and all that stuff. So we're constantly looking to improve our properties, and that will continue. That won't stop.
Awesome. Great questions. Phil, anything you got for me? Any questions? We kind of turn it around.
No, I appreciate you having us having me and being able to kind of share our vision and what's going on. So it's all exciting stuff.
Appreciate you. And quick recap, exciting things coming to the town. The future's bright. Anna Capri, there's already a somebody in line. International flavors concept, right? We're not going to jinx it.
Don't jinx it.
We won't jinx it. Burger Inn, a Peruvian-Japanese fusion.
Correct.
All right. The 9, which I know it's a bit off, but the 9's going to have, more than likely, a very nice sit-down restaurant.
Yes.
Coral Gables style, right? With those high ceilings. So looking forward to that. And Park Center, very soon. Café Mi Vitrola, which will be an awesome concept. Live music, great food, run by the owner of Limon and Crusados. Anything that I left out that's coming that's really, really exciting?
No, the Main Street renovation is obviously a huge deal. I think the community wants that probably more than anything, and we're excited about it.
If we get our hands on those renderings, we'll put it in the video.
Nothing is finalized.
Nothing is finalized.
Those are all ideas, and we're working through a lot of different concepts.
But at least we'll settle for the exclusive once you have.
That's right.
Appreciate your hard work.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming on, and I know the future is bright. I know you've been working very hard for the last 10 years, so I know looking back, you have to be very proud of what you've been able to accomplish, how you've changed that entire thing. And I wanted to put a face for our residents to understand that, hey, it takes a lot of work.
It does.
Not only negotiating, but selling people on our town. Yeah. Because for a long time, back in 2012, 2013, when I first got elected, there was no chance that a Chelas, that a Crusados, that a Limon, that Corner 6-7, that all these uses would have come to our town.
I agree.
There's not enough disposable income. People aren't going out there. Today, you said it. The moment Beverly Hills said we can't stay in business, there was a line of people saying,
we didn't even put it on the market. It was crazy. There was publicity with, Facebook.
With everything happening.
That's really what drove it, but I've never had that experience before.
So, but kudos to you, man, because I know you put in, and I saw it firsthand. So 2013, when I went up to Orlando.
You were right there. You were working hard too. So.
You were there talking to, even folks who said, there's no chance we're going to move our restaurant, our business to Miami Lakes. You're like, wait a second. You got to give us a second chance, a second look. No, exactly. So there you have it. Phil Wyllie, who's worked very hard the last 10 years to ensure that our retail spaces are at where they're at today. Tune in next Wednesday on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. 305 Vox Populi is powered by Miami Lakes Automall. Thank you, Fred. Senra for always sponsoring, making sure that we can provide this service with our students from Matter Lakes Broadcasting. They're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue here in the town of Miami Lakes. Their phone number is 305-455-3510. Our mural sponsor, Grisel Gajano. As you can see, it's a beautiful mural. You can text her at 786-353-8608. Our food today, which, by the way, I walked into City Hall and it smelled like pizza everywhere. It smelled amazing. And I think you guys ate it all, right? All the students ate all. Shout out to Gloria and Hector Rodriguez from Pizza Scene on Main Street. They're located at 6725 Main Street in Miami Lakes. Call them today for delivery, for pickup, 305-558-3212. Matter Lakes Broadcasting. I was at Matter Lakes just this week with Ariel, and I've been seeing what they're doing. It is amazing. They actually have a virtual and augmented reality lab now, which is really cool. And Enrique Santos, thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Harold. Our roadcaster, as you can see, gets used every single episode here, but more importantly, gets used at school for every single sports game. So thank you guys for that. And we'll see you next week. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and we appreciate you guys.